football team. They can't stop a nosebleed. Congratulations. See you in Pittsburgh. Can't wait.
They are the words that made him a legend. Here is Bart Scott with a Super Bowl edition of Can't Wait. What is the first thing you can't wait for in Miami next week?
I tell you what, first time, every time Marcus sees that, it just tickles his little liver, man. He's over there chuckling.
He loves it.
I tell you what, they're going to have 2 weeks before this thing gets going. There's going to be a lot of press conferences, going to be a lot of smoke, fired. Frank Clark is poking the bear already, man. Let's hear what Frank Clark had to say after the AFC Championship.
At the end of the day, we champions. AFC. That trophy that got my own the last name on it, that the KC. That KC. Ain't no fall off. Last year, jump off sides, all that. I told him when I got here, the was gonna change. Look at the we the best world.
Go Jordan.
Bulletin board material. He's alluding to D. Ford, who got thrown out of town because he jumped offside, and people believe that it cost them the game with an interception. Now, if I'm D. Ford, I'm going to say, guess what, Frank Clark? I'm in the Super Bowl as well. So now we're going to be able to compare who made the right decision. Frank Clark is, he's putting a lot out there. And if you're in the Wolf, don't be selling Wolf tickets, man. But I tell you what, the next thing I can't wait for, Travis Kelce, Kittles. You talk about two of the most dynamic tight ends in the game. I call them T2 versus T3. I think that Kittles is the evolution of the tight end position, what he's able to do. But you know what? Travis Kelce has the best quarterback in the game, and it's going to come down to who's going to make the biggest play.
Let me ask you this, as a linebacker, which one of those two guys are you more concerned about if you're playing against them? Who scares you more?
I think Kittle scares me more just because I'm sitting on my heels thinking I got to check him, and then he's going to hit me in the mouth. I'm ready for that smoke.
What else can't you wait for?
I can't wait to see if Jimmy G can take the next step. Can Jimmy G, if it falls in his hands, can he step up and lead his team to a Super Bowl? That's why they brought him out here. That's why they made the trade for him. He struggled in Minnesota. He threw 1 interception, could have threw 3, and last week only had to throw 8 passes. If he throws 4 touchdown passes or more than 2, would be the first time we've seen since the Saints game. Can Jimmy G take this team and lead his team, if he has to the promised land, Greeny? I don't know.
If you had to bet on it right now, an amount of money that mattered to you, would you bet he can or can't?
I would bet 70% because
71% is the number. You kept just upping everybody like we were playing The Price is Right. All right, Laura, let's go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Chiefs and 49ers booked their tickets to the Super Bowl this past Sunday. Both teams feature a number of young, dynamic stars, which we would assume set up both franchises for long-term success. So this came to our attention this morning as we were talking about both of these teams and their futures. If we have to nail these guys down, which team is more likely to return to the Super Bowl next year? Make sure your phone's on silent. Chiefs or 49ers? Dan, we start with you. Which team most likely to return to the Super Bowl?
I say the Chiefs, mainly because if you look at the AFC, there's a decent amount of unknown with some teams. If you look at the King, New England, what's going to happen there? Baltimore is probably the one team that you point to and go like, Kansas City's going to have to fight them to get back there. The NFC is going to be loaded again. Like if you look at the NFC, it's going to be Philly, Dallas, Green Bay, Minnesota, New Orleans, Seattle. We don't know what's going to happen in Carolina. So like there's going to be a lot of teams that San Francisco is going to have to go through to get back to the Super Bowl, where Kansas City's looking at Baltimore going, as long as we kind of conquer Baltimore, at least get home field advantage, that's going to be their big kind of speed bump.
What do you think, Swaggo?
It's tough, right?
49ers. Listen, this, for me, and look, the obvious is Kansas City because we know 15 plays for them. But if I look at the 49ers and the way this front office has built this team, the way they're young and athletic and can still add people, when I look at the NFC, after I've watched this entire season, and Jimmy G answers some questions. This is a big game for Jimmy Garoppolo, but also the future of the San Francisco 49ers. If he's thrown into what we've been talking about, having to go blow for blow with Pat Mahomes. But this team, to me, is built for Super Bowl runs. When you talk about this defense, this defensive line, the youth that's been well served, and George Kittle is going to impact games like Gronk did for the Patriots. I'm telling you. So it's the 49ers for me.
What do you think, Bart?
That's hard, though.
When you talk about who has the best player who's going to be around for 15 years, I think it's Patrick Mahomes. So I think he's going to have the ability until Lamar Jackson shows us that he can take the next step in his evolution and win from the pocket. I have to go with Mahomes because he's just so dynamic. He elevates the play of everybody around him, and he has something that these other teams don't have, speed. I mean, he has speed at every position. We laugh about Sammy Watkins being the slow one on the team with a 4-3. We forget how dynamic Sammy Watkins was when he came out. And then he just has the ability to do the special things. I don't know if Jimmy G has the ability to be special.
Here's the thing to consider if you're trying to answer this question, because I understand all the things you're saying about the 49ers. But if we're going to sort of make this into which team has a better chance to form a little dynasty, and in the NFL, dynasties, the Patriots have sort of skewed your perception of what a dynasty looks like. Go back and find a dynasty in the NFL that didn't have a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Right.
Actually, don't bother. You won't find one. So the question is, can Garoppolo become that? Mahomes is that. I think we all believe Mahomes is that. So if you're betting on one versus the other, I think you bet on the team that has Patrick Mahomes on it.
Totally, but we also don't have enough body of work to see if Jimmy G is going to become that.
Right.
I mean, what we do know of Jimmy G, you said it before, when he plays,
they win. Yeah.
When he doesn't, they lose. He's 23-5 as a starter. He's top 10 in a bunch of categories this year. And I think in 2 weeks we're going to have we could potentially have a much different viewpoint of Jimmy G. Because if he does win this game, then the conversation becomes, wow, is he one of the better young quarterbacks in the league?
I just think that Jimmy G's path is so much harder because he has to go through Russell Wilson,
it's definitely hard.
who is his superior athlete. You know, he has to go through the Rams. So I think, that's getting beat up within that division just going to be harder to get through all those other teams.
I just look at the runs, right? I look at how this roster is put together. It's through the draft.
It's the youngest team
guys,
in the NFL, San Francisco.
Longevity-wise, we still talking about Patrick Mahomes needing to be paid. And Kansas City has already had to go outside and trade and pick pieces up to get to where they want to be. San Fran, to me, is built to last a little bit longer than Kansas City, depending on what transpires with Pat Mahomes and these guys that they bring in.
Yeah, they've already paid their quarterback. Let's talk about another quarterback who hasn't gotten paid yet. That's Dak Prescott.
Oh, my God.
The Cowboys are going to have to pay him this offseason, we assume. We had a lengthy conversation this morning in our pre-show meeting about the options that Dallas has, and one of them, an option feels continuously real, is that they wind up putting the franchise tag on Dak Prescott. And Marcus Spears, I know you have a very strong feeling about that.
I ain't signing it, man. I'm telling you, if I'm Dak and I'm his agent, I'm telling Dak, man, we are not pulling a pin out ever until we get the contract we want. Greeny, we talking about almost a 5,000-yard passer, 30 touchdowns. Obviously, you're looking at that. We talked about weapons. We talked about what Dak brought to this offense. And look, I've been one on record to say this thing goes through Zeke. But I was just having this conversation with Dan. Who in the hell doesn't pay their franchise quarterback when it's time to pay him? I need somebody to tell me the last time we had a quarterback that an owner, GM, head coach has come out and said, this is our guy, and hadn't been paid. You give up $5 million more if that's your guy. Like we go ahead.
Before we get Dan in, so you're saying that if they try to do this, if they try to tag him, the Cowboys do, that he should sit out. He should hold out.
Yes. Don't touch
the
it.
last quarterback we saw kind of get into the contract dispute was Kirk Cousins in Washington, and that's kind of ended up in a disaster for them and maybe questionable for Minnesota. To your point, like usually teams pay quarterbacks too early. We've seen Jimmy G got paid maybe too early. Carson Wentz got paid maybe too early in people's viewpoint. And the fact that they haven't paid Dak, we sat here and talked. I said, why? Why?
Yeah.
Why? And I don't know, but like maybe because, I mean, this year he's 0-5 against top 10 teams and they struggle offensively. I don't know why Jerry Jones has come out and said X, but the payment because Jerry Jones said himself, I don't struggle to open up my checkbook.
They had to trade for a first-round draft pick for Amari Cooper for us to start to think that Dak Prescott was even special.
Sure.
No.
So he's not. Listen, he's not an elevator, and he's coming to the table earlier because he wasn't a first-round draft pick. If we know that it's a good deal on the table, it's a good deal on the table already for him. He's going to have to take a little less because this won't be the last bite of the apple for him. We know Russell Wilson was in a similar situation, and he's on his second deal now. So if if I'm Dak, I take less money to win and to build my resume.
He's
no,
been
listen.
massively
No.
underrated.
You take less money so that you can build your resume up with some championships.
Man, that
and
dude
then
ain't
you
got
go
no
back
money.
and you
He's
take.
been massively.
Oh, I'm
He
sorry.
ain't got no money from the league.
You know how many sorry
First of all,
backup
I heard y'all
quarterbacks make
say
more
this-
money in 1 year than
I
we've
heard
ever
y'all
made in
say
our
this-
whole
I
career?
heard y'all say this BS yesterday
Nah,
about Pat Mahomes. Why would these young quarterbacks take less money right now?
Why did
Because
Tom
Brady
Brady
was
say?
there 20 years. He was there 20 years with a team that was winning Super Bowls.
So Dak can't be there for 15 years?
First of all, Dak was
Can
a
he be
fourth-round
there?
draft
Right.
pick, and he hasn't made the money Tom Brady
He
has
gonna
made.
get $30 million.
Dude.
He's not a $40 million quarterback. If you want $40 million,
I don't care.
give me Teddy
I
Bridgewater.
don't care if you ain't a $40 million quarterback. You're a $40 million quarterback. Somebody gonna give it to you. I agree with you. I said it earlier this
Who's
year
gonna give it to
that
him?
they shouldn't. That Dak to me wasn't worth $40 million. I've said that.
Right.
But when I look at what this market is going to ask,
Who you gonna lose?
Give him $40 million.
Who you gonna lose?
Dude,
Who you gonna give up?
If I'm Dak Prescott,
Who you gonna miss out
and
on?
I just threw for almost 5,000 yards, you gonna give me $40 million. Or
and a lot of
let me
yards-
walk and let somebody else give it to me.
And a lot of them yards was to who? To Cooper.
It don't matter,
I had to
Bart.
trade a first-round draft pick to go get you help. because
Bart,
you
it
couldn't
does not matter. It don't matter about who it was to. If the owner has said he's a franchise quarterback,
Which he has
said that.
Andy Dalton was a franchise quarterback to them.
And they paid him.
Can I just say
But
one
they
thing?
didn't pay him top
I
of the
need to
market
say
money.
one thing. A commercial is going to roll whether you guys stop or not in the next 10 seconds.
You killed
so
it,
let's take
Petey.
a very quick break, and then we will come back with more of this and some of this as well. Patrick Mahomes has not seen a defense like this one. Coming up, we will tell you why the 49er D could be the kryptonite for the Superman. That is number 15. These two guys are going to continue going
You know how
at
many
it.
scrubs make more money than more made together?
Don't tell me to tell a young player to take less money, and he ain't made none.
Gotta